Hey YouTube, it's Reese Sheehan. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on my videos. So here is my opinion on Miss Azriel and is it Joycelyn? R. Kelly's girlfriends. When Gail asked the question, what kind of relationship they had. And Azriel's response was, I'm a woman and that's not something that I want to discuss. That's my private business. Why did you go on the show? Why did you agree to be interviewed? If you're trying to clear R. Kelly's name, then you probably just want to be as honest as possible. But I mean, as a survivor of domestic violence, to me, it seemed like they both were exhibiting signs of domestic violence. Azriel was very defensive, in my opinion. And maybe she has a right to be. But under the circumstances, it just was very hard for me to really follow or fathom why she was so defensive. Why are you so defensive? Then to accuse her father of basically selling her. Both of them, and I have to be brutally honest here. It was very hard for me to watch the two of them. As hard as it's been for me to watch the Ian Levanzant's Fix My Life, the current episodes, with the family, with the 5 children that were so horribly abused, neglected, and molested by foster parents or foster people. It was the worst. I cannot watch. So there's 3 videos altogether. One of Joycelyn and Azriel, the whole R. Kelly situation. I can't watch that all the way. It's very hard for me. As a survivor of domestic violence, it triggered me as a survivor. That video triggered me. The other videos that triggered me were those two, the 2 videos, the Iyanla Fix My Life videos with the family, the 5 siblings that were horribly molested. Horribly. Now I have to, there's some disclaimer here. The 2 videos, of the 3, there were 2 videos that made me cry. And I didn't even get to finish them all because I just couldn't. It hurt my heart so bad, I had to stop. I was in tears. And those videos were the Iyanla Fix My Life. I could not watch those videos without crying. Like, they triggered the pain in it. The little girl in me that has suffered violence as a child, but nothing compared to what these siblings went through. I didn't suffer anything compared to them. It was horrible to watch. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't watch the whole thing. So when I watched Funky Dineva, and when he said he watched the whole thing and he was just inconsolable. He showed where he was just crying. He could not believe how he cannot understand how horrible. How could you be so horrible to children? And that's the same thing I was thinking. How could you do that to children? I don't care if they are not your children. How could you be so horrible to them? Oh, it hurt my heart. It broke me down. I couldn't watch it. The Azriel Joycelyn interview with Gail, I couldn't watch all the way because I got mad. As a victim, or I keep saying victim, but when you get out of domestic violence and you thrive, you're no longer a victim. You're a survivor. You chose you. And if ever you've ever gone through domestic violence, and I've heard so many people, I've read so many people say dumb things about domestic violence, and I've heard people say dumb things about domestic violence. Well, why don't you just get out? Psychologically, You become trauma bonded. And for those who are not aware what trauma bonded means, please go look it up. You become trauma bonded. I personally can't stand it. When I realized that's what was going on with me, I was upset with myself. Like, wow, how do you become trauma bonded? It's because I went through trauma in the past when I was a kid, and I went through it quite a bit to where my brain, unfortunately, got used to it. And so, unfortunately, I was it wasn't a huge leap for me to go to go into a relationship that I ended up being. It turned into a domestic violence situation. It, and that's not an excuse. That's just a, if you look into narcissism, look into people that are, the different levels of narcissism. I was subjected at a very early age to malignant narcissism. And I had to rewire myself. Well, then something traumatic happened to me again as I became as an adult. Something very traumatic happened again, and it reset me. And I became very susceptible to a very dysfunctional, narcissistic, violent relationship. But of course, people that have never been in it, they don't really understand. But when I look at Azriel and Joycelyn, that's what I see. They're victims right now of domestic violence. They're not even at the pre-contemplative stage of change. They are literally trying to show their abuser how much they're in his corner, how much they love him, how much they support him. Everything about their relationship is really, from outside looking in, unhealthy. And it probably would have helped if it is a healthy situation, because again, I'm looking from the outside. And then as a survivor, I'm looking at the signs. I'm like, Azriel's defensiveness, I was that same way with my accuser. Well, not my accuser, but with my abuser. I would be defensive against other people would be like, why are you with this man? And you don't know him, and it ain't none of your business, and did it. I totally see it. And then Joycelyn is just, yep, right, yeah. She doesn't have a voice. Azriel's voice is defensive, and she gonna stick up for her man, and da-da-da-da. I've been there. So when I saw that, all it did for me is made me mad. Because I can identify. And I know the signs. Excuse me while I glisten. So I feel for both those young ladies, and hopefully they'll be strong enough to leave. Because it's it's really interesting that you would think your parents would sell you to R. Kelly. That's the part that makes me go, besides the act, the behaviors, when she said that, it's like, you're just parroting at this point. You're just doing what he told you to tell you. You're just doing what he told you to do. You're parroting. You're parroting like a parrot. You are repeating what he told you to say. And then to hear Gail say that he was told not to even be in there, and he kept, coming in, he'd be in the background. Dude, you can tell me whatever you want to. I'm a survivor of malignant narcissism. That man is a narcissist. He's a malignant narcissist. And the way he came at Gail, when I watched that, I'm like, my narcissist did the exact same thing to me. And for a very long time, it used to intimidate me until one day he did something that, and all I can say is it didn't go well for him. But when I saw R. Kelly do all that stuff to Gail, I just, like, he's a narcissist. He's a malignant one. He thinks it's safe to do that to her. I don't know why you would think that would be safe. Other than you think because she's a woman, you can do whatever, say whatever, and behave any old kind of way you want to. And you're trying to convince everybody that this is not so that's not the way to do it. But because you're so used to being able to bully women, that's why you did it. You just felt you were safe. And no. And you've just been dragged ever since. And you're going to continue to be dragged. I mean, you're going to have your supporters. We get that. And maybe not all of them have been, involved with a narcissist. But I'm thinking they have. Yeah. Especially the woman that, now I do not agree with those folks that are attacking the woman that owned the daycare owner that put up the money for R. Kelly. She didn't put up $100,000. He only needed 10% or something like that, if I recall correctly. So she put up $10,000. She put up $100,000 for him to get out of jail. They only needed 10%, I think. But she didn't put up that whole amount. It doesn't matter how much she put up, though. There are people that are literally, sending death threats to her. Now, why would y'all be doing that? What's the deal with that? I said this. Anyway, I'm praying. I'm a praying woman. I'm praying for those two young ladies that they get out. I'm definitely praying for those 5 siblings and their mom who, people didn't understand the significance of how crack devastated our community, the African American community. Now you get to see just a sliver how devastating crack has been. Those 5 siblings, the one that has epilepsy, every time he goes into something, he has to remember the pain that he goes into, that he went through, he endured. Do you see him like totally, completely shut down? I've never seen anybody do that, ever. Even when I was a therapist, a mental health practitioner, I never saw that. That young man shuts down. Like he can't hear you. He can't, like he isn't, like it's almost as if he's going back in time to that place and he's like stuck and he just, and the mom, all she could do is look. And it's, as her truth is coming out, that she was a young mom. I mean, it makes sense. It does. It makes sense. It just, the part that doesn't make sense, she said she was into prostitution, that she had to make money and that's all she knew how to do to make money. But as Iyanla said, she was on crack. But for those folks who didn't understand the devastation of what crack did to our community, you only have to watch those 2 episodes of Iyanla Fix My Life to see how devastating crack has been. Unfortunately, I've seen it up close and personal. I wasn't on crack. No, never did. But several people that were close to me, that are still close to me, they were. A couple of people had kids. And their kids are not doing well as we speak. So, yeah.